Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Vlogmas. So to start the Vlogmas videos, we're gonna do some Advent devotionals. You'll see transitions from Advent devotionals in the beginning to little short clips with me and Blake opening up some fun Advent stuff that we've bought. And then we're going to cut to the actual content of this video that's highlighted in the thumbnail, the name, all of that stuff. So for this first video, you're going to see Christmas book recommendations after these first two little introductions, right? So hopefully this will be kind of a good setup. We'll see how it all flows, but I want to go ahead and just start every video with Jesus, right? Because he is the reason for the season. I want to make sure that I put Jesus first during Vlogmas in every video because he is our light, our life, our salvation. He is the joy of the world, and he is the reason we're here. And again, he is the reason for the season, as this says, right? So we're going to dive into this Advent devotional that I have been talking about recently on the channel. And the first little bits of these may only be just me reading through this a little bit each day, but hopefully you all get something out of it. I've read the first 4, so you'll probably see me in this shirt quite a bit because I'm going to go ahead and individually film each little clip. Go ahead and dive into the devotional for the day. And this is Star of Wonder, an Advent devotional to illuminate the people, places, and purpose of the First Christmas by Angela Hunt. I did get this from Bethany House when it came out in September, and I'm super excited to dive into this a little bit with you guys each day. I will leave the link down below if you want to pick it up. I have been really enjoying each day. It's a lot of great historical information about the first Christmas and things I never even really thought about. So, and then it has like a little ending of a devotional to really kind of apply it to your own life. So yeah, first let's dive into the first day. In day 1, we're talking all about Bethlehem, and we've seen the images depicting Mary and Joseph's journey to the city of David. Mary's usually riding a donkey, with Joseph patiently leading the way as they travel through this desolate wilderness, right? This first little bit makes you think, what would Bethlehem have really looked like? So she talks a lot about how Nazareth and Jerusalem were 75 miles apart. Bethlehem was 5 miles further south. Though their journey may have not been an easy one, it was far from lonely. So most likely they would have had a lot of people and relatives going along with them. She talks about how the circumstances of the travel would have been hard because the Romans had the right of way, and when a Roman chariot or a lone horseman would come riding through behind a group, civilians had to get off the road, let them pass. And she said, can you imagine having to pull your wagon, women, children, and pack of animals off the road while an impatient Roman officer drove by? She talks about how tax collectors were set up shop along the road, all of these things. And so given the circumstances and the length of their journey, Mary and Joseph likely needed more than a week to reach Bethlehem, and they would have rested on the Sabbath. With so many people returning home for the tax enrollment, naturally there was no room for them at the inn. Luke tells us that Mary gave birth to her first child, a son. She wrapped him in strips of cloth and laid him in a feeding trough because there was no place for them in the guest quarters. Once Joseph and Mary arrived in Bethlehem, they most likely went directly to a relative's house or waited at the town center for someone to offer them shelter. Then they moved to a house and settled down with the animals. This is why the Son of God spent his first hours in a manger. After the birth, as the house quieted and Mary rested, a group of ritually unclean shepherds left their fields and slipped into the city, going from house to house in the dark, peering over low courtyard walls as they searched for a swaddled baby in a manger. They found him because they sought him. Bethlehem, house of bread, became the birthplace of the one who would call himself the bread of life. In Bethlehem, Ruth had married Boaz, and she, a Gentile, became the great-grandmother of King David. In Bethlehem, Samuel the prophet found David and anointed the youngest of Jesse's sons to be king over Israel. In Bethlehem, Mary gave birth to Jesus, the one who would sit on the throne of David forever. The city of David, the tiny town outside Jerusalem, was never too small to host great events. And no person is ever too insignificant to do great things for God. I love this introduction. So much to think about, the history of it, their travels, Bethlehem, the city, and his birth. And then we go into a moment of wonder is what it's called in the headline, and it just kind of is a little reflection devotional. Have you ever felt God calling you to do something, but then thought yourself too ordinary to attempt the task? You wouldn't be alone. When God called Moses to deliver his people from Egypt, Moses had a list of excuses. When God called Gideon to fight the enemies of Israel, Gideon asked for a miraculous sign twice. Many who sat under Jesus' teachings found excuses to avoid following him. But Mary didn't hesitate to accept God's call. And once Joseph, her fiance, understood the true nature of their situation, he didn't quibble. Even the shepherds, who could have dismissed the angel's news and stayed to guard their sheep, hurried to seek the newborn Savior. What is God calling you to do during this holiday season? Open your home to someone who's lonely, share a meal, reconcile with your former friend, call that family member you haven't seen in years. The most valuable thing you can give anyone is time. Your lifespan consists of a finite number of minutes, and how you invest your minutes matters greatly to God. And then we have a little prayer. Father, how would you like us to invest our lives this month? Who needs us? Who is lonely? Who might enjoy spending time with us? Which ministry could use a helping hand? Show us what we can do, Lord, because Christmas isn't about us. It's about giving our time, our lives to those you love. Amen. I love that. That was such a great devotional for the first day. Tomorrow we'll talk about the garden. I'm loving this so far. I hope you all enjoyed that introduction to Vlogmas and the videos to come. Next clip you see will be me and Blake doing some Advent shenanigans.
Hey y'all, we're gonna open up a couple Advent calendars, something a little bit different to add to each day, counting up to Christmas. So
I've got this Harry Potter calendar. It's got like stationery and other things randomly in it. So tell me what you got.
and then I got this Pokemon holiday calendar. So it's got like for each day you open it up, which I'll get it out of the box in a minute, anyways.
So that's what each day you're going to see. The first part's going to be the Advent devotional, and then you're going to see something like this, and then we're going to go into the actual content of the video. So yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, you want me to start first?
Yeah.
So we'll just open this guy up.
Go ahead.
All right, so taking it out of the box. So it looks like this is pretty cool, the setup. So you go like this. So here's what this side looks like. And then you take out each day right here. It has 25 days. Yeah. Try to do it this way so you can see it. So we're gonna take out one. I don't know if you can see it, Amanda, but let's see if I can do this without breaking it. Let's see here.
He's gotten into collecting Pokemon cards and all this stuff again, so
Let's see
pretty neat.
if I can do this. All right, cool. So the first one looks like we got a card. If I can get it out. Okay, well, we got it out of there.
What is it?
So it's a Glaceon V. It's a little bit nice, so it's pretty cool.
Let me see it. Oh, he's like reflective or something.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah, that's pretty good.
All right.
And then each day could be something, so they're not all cards. There could be like other things like keychains and stuff like that. So, all right, so now we'll let Amanda.
Tomorrow, you'll see what he has.
For day number 2.
Okay. All right. And tell him why you got that, Hubs. Tell him why you got that. What you been doing?
So yeah, so since I've gotten back into collecting cards, I thought it'd be cool to like do like holiday like special sets and stuff like that. So
this is the Harry Potter Holiday Magic official Advent calendar, and it's got 25 days of surprises with like mini books, mementos, and more. So, oh my goodness!
wow,
This is cool.
show them that. That looks really cool.
Okay, we love to see it. I'll do a close up, but here you can see this. I will insert a clip close up.
You gotta find the numbers. I see them.
So
yeah, just like the Pokemon, yeah, there's one for each day.
All the different days. I love the designs that they did with this.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So day 1 looks like it has the dragon envelope.
It looks like is that the horn?
Is that the dude from Hollows? Deathly Hollows, maybe?
Which one? The dragon?
Yeah, ain't that the dragon from Deathly Hollows where they escape?
I don't know. That looks like one of the ones.
Or is it in?
No, it's in the
Goblet of Fire.
It's one of the dragons.
Look at the hubs coming in.
It's either the Chinese one or the horntail. There's
Okay.
one called the horntail. Anyways.
Okay.
That's what
Look
it looks
at
like.
you. All right, let's see what this is. I'm just want to open it.
Hippogriff.
Oh yeah, hippogriff. What?
What is that? Oh, that's
Okay.
cool.
They're like little cards.
Oh wow, they're like cards.
Okay. So
Look
we've
at her.
got.
She got cards too.
Oh, they're like greeting cards.
wow, that's cool.
You know, you're less stationary. So we've got Hermione. You probably can't see it good. I'll do a little close up. The trio. Oh my gosh. The little choir. I don't even know who those people are.
Yeah.
What is that?
If you've seen the movie, you know, like where they do the choir with the frogs or like singing, where they sing or whatever.
Harry and Hedwig.
Yeah. That's a good one. Let me see that.
So
So that's cute. Yeah.
that's cute. Here.
It's pretty cool.
Flip it around and all.
All of them.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Alright, so that is what day 1 is. Stick around tomorrow for day 2. So, this is going to be the first Vlogmas video that you're seeing. It may have not been the introduction, okay, because the Hubs, he has his own plans. But we're here for this video. This is the content of this video, primary content of this video. And it is going to be Christmas book recommendations, okay? I'm so excited, so excited to be filming this video because I read a lot of good Christmas books last year. I didn't have a whole lot to recommend last year, so now I have a whole stack, we'd love to see it, to remind you of the ones I read last year, okay? So, without further ado, let's dive in. First, let's just start with the books I don't currently own. The first on my list is a cozy mystery that I read last year. If you're looking for a good cozy mystery, this is going to be a good one. It is 12 Sleighs of Christmas. This is book 1 in a Christmas Tree Farm mystery series by Jacqueline Frost. This is also the same author. She does several pen names. Julianne Lindsay, okay, so it's the same person who wrote Apple Cider Sleighing, which that would be also a really great one to read at Christmas time. But I've mentioned that several times over the last 6 months, so I wanted to just mention at least 12 Sleighs of Christmas because I haven't talked about it since last Christmas, honestly. It's one I think that probably is forgotten. And I really want to continue on in this series, honestly, because it was a lot of fun. This book is about this girl named Holly, and her fiance ends up canceling their Christmas Eve wedding like 2 weeks before it's supposed to happen. Holly goes home to the town called Mistletoe, Maine. Love that name, Mistletoe, Maine. And her heart is broken. She's spending time with her family when all of a sudden the president of this Mistletoe Historical Society, her name is Margaret, she is murdered and left in the sleigh display on her family's tree farm reindeer games. And with the murder weapon being very suspicious as a wooden stake that they use to identify trees, Holly's father is the main suspect. And so the sheriff is kind of thinking it's him, it's really not him, who really did this, who's framing him, all this stuff. And so we just go on from there as Holly is trying to kind of work through the sleuthing herself and clear her father's name. Did have a little bit of romance, so I love that. And, you know, it had just some really nice Christmas vibes because it's on a Christmas tree farm and all the things. So this one doesn't necessarily stand out 100% among the crowd of all the cozies I've read, but this is definitely one to look out for at Christmas time. The next book I don't own, but I need to get a copy of is A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. This is a Victorian Christmas novella, and I loved it last year, gave it 4 stars. It does have a little bit of mild language, but overall it's clean. This is a story of this girl, Sophie, and she is being courted by this guy, Edward. Sophie has a lot of baggage. Her family, they don't have any money right now because her dad lost their fortune being careless with some new technology and stuff. Guy, Edward, he is not really a titled man, so he doesn't have anything socially. He's a new money merchant, all this stuff. And so, you know, he's not titled, and a marriage to Sophie would rectify that, right? But at the beginning of this, you're like, do they even like each other? there's some things that happen that tear them apart, but then they come back together, they start getting to know each other, and the rest is history, okay? This book was very atmospheric, it's very well told, it transports you right there in 19th century England, and it just has all the charms of a holiday season, honestly. So yeah, I think this was a perfect Victorian Christmas novella. It's not Christian, but it is clean, and just a really good time. Let's talk through my stack of books, okay? First on the list is Kiss Me on Christmas by Sarah Monzon. Let me just say, this cute little book was one of my favorite Christmas books I read last year. It has a sweet mother and her 10-year-old son who is autistic. I really related to the struggles this mom went through. She's a single mom. I'm not a single mom, but I did relate to the struggles she had with her special needs child and everything. You know, they're worried about sensory overload and all of these different things, and they're having to travel. And I haven't really went through the traveling portion, but I mean, I can imagine it being very tough. I really felt seen in this book of what she was going through with her son. I've experienced some of the same things that she has, and the author's note was just beautiful. It gave me hope that I needed. This one features a single mom named Caitlin, and like I said, her 10-year-old son, he's autistic, his name's Liam, and they have to help with her sister's wedding festivities. That's last minute for Christmas time, and you know, she's really worried about her son's routines, because routines are very important for autistic kids and people in general. And so he has these traditions for Christmas that are very important to him, and she's worried that they're not going to be able to meet that if we're traveling and all this stuff. And so while they're on the plane, it just so happens that they run into his favorite YouTube star named Beckett Walsh. And I love that so much. Beckett is the greatest guy. He is just so involved in this little boy's, like, just his interests, and he cares. And so they all click instantly, and come to find out, Beckett is friends with Nolan, which is her sister's soon-to-be husband. Wouldn't you know it, right? Perfect story. And then Caitlin and Liam, they end up going to see her sister. They run back, and they run into Beckett. And so it's like, the story took off right there, okay? I loved it. It was great. There was all these family get-togethers, games, baking, so much fun. I also like seeing them read the Bible for Christmas in this book, and they went to church, all that stuff. Ended up giving it 4 to 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Next on my list is Catching Christmas by Terri Blackstock. This one is wow, it's a hidden gem, honestly. I give it 5 stars. Very heartwarming, a sweet romance. I loved Finn, our main character in this, most of all. The cab driver, also a gourmet chef, and you know, he is forced to be driving around Miss Callie, and she's an elderly grandmother. She has some health issues and memory problems that start to appear as if they're dementia. Her granddaughter Sydney is struggling to meet the needs of Miss Callie because she is in her court as a first-year law associate, so she's got all these responsibilities. She's not able to make all of the appointments to help her. She's struggling, and so she has the cab coming to pick up her grandmother each day to help her get her to her appointments. Finn soon realizes the need that Miss Callie has, and he starts to help out with everything. Then he gets to know Sydney after he meets her, and the, you know, little romance forms. And it's at first Finn is like, I'm not doing this, but then he realizes what she needs, and he has, like, you know, she pulls on your heartstrings. And you know, I ended up being just really connected with these characters, and it made me cry. So yeah, definitely a tearjerker. It's very magical, and I was just reminded of these beautiful memories of my own grandmothers that are no longer with us today. So I really enjoyed this. Of course, we cannot have a Christmas book recommendations video without A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Let me just say, I read this last year, and I'm so glad that I did, because it's just this classic story of Ebenezer Scrooge. And I mean, I knew the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, like he's greedy, grouchy, all that stuff, but it's just, wow, really interesting to just read through it. You know, he's very selfish, and he has a bad attitude, and all of a sudden his life kind of gets turned upside down when these 3 spirits visit him, the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. We all know the kind of classic story here, and they show him what he's done, and they make him see what Christmas is truly about. And I love the ending of it. like something about that ending was just beautiful. Some parts in this that were a little bit confusing to me, so I give it 4 stars, but you know, overall, I really enjoyed it from what I got out of it at the time. I could see myself rereading it and trying to really like dive into it and understand it. I should have probably took notes, all that stuff, but you know, I still, from what I remember and got out of it, really enjoyed it. Next on the list is a Toni Shiloh, Her Christmas Redemption. I gave this 4 stars. I thought I gave this 5 stars before, my bad, but I think I said that somewhere else, but it's like a good 4 to 5 star read, okay? It's a really good Christmas read. It came out last year. Toni Shiloh does not disappoint, okay? I've got another Toni Shiloh on this list, but I like this one a little bit more than her newest. Both good. It's just this one, I think I've connected more with the characters, had a little bit more time. I know it's 200 pages, but I don't know, there's something about the pacing of this that was different than her other one, and it's set in Arkansas, which we're Arkansas Razorback fans. We live in Tennessee, but we're Arkansas Razorback fans, and so I like to see some of the Razorback references in this. This story was all about Vivian Dupree, however you say it, and she has turned her whole life around. She was an alcoholic, was in the county jail for 6 months, and so she has moved to a new town. She's starting her life over, working in a local church. She's dedicated her life to Jesus, working as like a new receptionist there at the church, and she's just really hopeful for this new change in life. And in comes this guy Michael Wood, who kind of took over his father's business after he passed away. His previous relationship went south real quick, so he's struggling to trust anybody. So Michael and Vivian end up having to work together for the church's Christmas Wishes campaign, and that is to bring the Christmas spirit to those in need during the holiday season. And their story kind of kicks off from here. The faith in this was what really sold it for me. There was just so much of God's love and giving, you know, forgiveness to others, blessing other people at Christmas time, seeking Jesus in every circumstance, all of that. You know, Toni Shiloh has the best faith content for me in some of these books, and I loved what she did here. And you know, Vivian had this transformation that we really got to see, and how she turned her life around from her past. And I highly recommend it. It's a really good one. It's got characters with some past baggage, you know, that's turned their life around. Who doesn't love to read about that? Next on the list is The Bridge by Kingsbury, and this has a special memory for me because we got to go to Landmark Booksellers in Franklin, Tennessee, which is where this is based on. I had read this last year, and then this year when the Hubs and I went to Franklin, it's outside of Nashville, we visited the Landmark Booksellers bookstore, and I had got this little art piece from there. Love this so much. And then I have like a wooden bookmark and all that stuff. It was a really great little store, but they had lots of Kingsbury stuff, of course, but I really enjoyed this story. I love that it was set in Franklin. The story follows Molly and Ryan. And Ryan lives in Nashville. He had a broken engagement and several years on the road during his music tour, okay? And Molly would always meet Ryan at the Bridge bookstore, and they made some really great memories there. And however, there was a circumstance that occurred where they were split apart for many years, and they eventually find themselves on their way back to each other through a situation that occurs with the owners of the Bridge bookstore, Charlie and Donna. What they went through was very inspiring. God worked in their lives. I was so connected with them specifically. I mean, I wasn't really necessarily the biggest fan of Molly and Ryan together. I mean, there was like some miscommunication and stuff. The dad was interfering. There was a lot of that stuff. So some of that wasn't my favorite, but I will say I loved what Charlie and Donna, their story. I love that more than anything. When I first finished it, I thought it was going to be 5 stars, but after it sat with me a little bit, you know, it ended up being more of like a 4-star, but you know, I think that this is still a great Christmas read, and a lot of y'all would like it. Now, one of my favorites, okay, is The White Christmas Inn by Colleen Wright. Wow, I gave this 5 stars. Okay, this is so heartwarming. It's so cute. It's just so character driven. There's multiple characters in this. It's just like a Hallmark story. I need all the Hallmark cheese in this. I loved it. I could easily reread this. Like, what a great story. Just these amazing mixed group of characters that they come together at this evergreen inn at Christmas time, and they end up getting snowed in for a little bit, and so kind of we have a little bit of everything. We have some good food, the great decor for Christmas, and just you know, some snow fun, and just a great cast of characters. There's Molly. I'm looking at the names. We had Molly, and she was an author. She just wanted to finish her latest book. Her writer's block is hurting her. The arrival of Marcus, he's a handsome widower, and he has 2 young girls. And so there's their little romance that's happening. Then we have Hannah, and so she's planning a picturesque wedding, but a snowstorm hits, her plans come crashing down, and her childhood friend Luke comes in just when all this stuff has happened, and you know, there's a little bit of romance there. And then we see Jean and Tim, and they don't know how they're going to keep the inn open because of a lot of like financial issues, and then there's a distance in their marriage and all this stuff, and they're trying to like rekindle their relationship. So we see some of that. So there's a lot in this. I just think y'all need to read this. This is, if you read anything, read The White Christmas Inn. Okay, next on my list is the Toni Shiloh, You Make It Feel Like Christmas. I did talk about this recently because I did pick it up to honestly read and review through her launch team, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but there's some tropes in this that just personally I don't love, and I feel like it lacked for me in that, just personally. But I think a lot of you all who love a good Christmas, like Hallmark cheese movie book, are gonna love this. That's who this is for. It was a bit too much of the cheese at the time for me. Maybe if I read it like when I was in the mood for it, you know what I'm saying? But this one is all about Star Lewis, and she's come home for the holidays. She's single. Her sister is getting married to her ex-boyfriend. That's kind of what I don't love because of the whole loyalty thing, you know, but like the ending it was fine for it. It made up for it. But still, I don't always love reading through that, and she was kind of like a bridezilla a little bit, so there's some of that, you know. But again, we have some resolutions in the end. I was good with that. But still, that's not my favorite part. That the drama with her sister was a bit much. But we see how she is at Thanksgiving, and her brother's friend Waylon is there, and you know, Waylon's mother had recently passed away. I think it was recently. I don't know. Either way, his mother had passed away, and she had like this old Christmas shop, so he's working on like getting that up and figuring out what he's going to do there. And so, yeah, there's some good Christmas elements and vibes from this story. I think just the family stuff took away from it for me a little bit, but overall, you know, still pretty good. Had some good faith in it. So, yeah. Next on the list is A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. I read this in 2021, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first clean reads I ever read. This is a road trip romance that I loved. It's been a little bit since I read this, so let me kind of look at the back here. Lauren Richmond is not a fan of Christmas, which is why she rarely makes the trip home to the Midwest for the holidays. After all, she has plenty to keep her busy, namely her duties as a set decorator on a TV sitcom. But this December, Lauren's brother and his wife are expecting a baby, so her brother, that's right, her brother like arranges her to like travel across the country with his good friend Will. And Will is the guy that is the childhood crush, what I'll say, that, you know, she's been trying to forget for like 10 years, okay? And so she has a fear of flying, so she ends up riding in the car with him this whole time, and, you know, he's flirty a little bit with her, and she's kind of like, you know, not liking him. She's kind of mean to him, you know, for a little bit, but she starts to soon realize that, you know, he's a good guy, and he's changed, and he's not what she thought she thought he was back in the day. And there's some real transformation there that I liked. And like, sorry, I'm dropping this sticker. My favorite parts were like where they went and saw his family and like just saw their love for Christmas. That was my favorite parts. I'd like to reread this and see how I feel today. I don't know if I'd still give it 5 stars, but I want to try because there is like a cross-country wedding that's out. But I ended up getting this little sticker when I just see it off her Etsy store when I ordered Can't Help Falling. So yeah, that's a good one as well. I know a lot of y'all love that. Are a couple 2 Melody Carlson books. I've read like 4 or 5 of her books, and there's many that I gave 3 stars, but these are 2 that I gave 4 and 5 stars. So this first one I gave 5 stars, and it's a quilt for Christmas. Something about this book that I really enjoyed because it had a good family element, not necessarily like primarily a romance. And it had this precious little girl, and she was just so sweet. She made the story, and it gave me all that I needed for the Christmas feels when I read it. This is about Vera Swanson, who sold her home in an effort to be closer to her children and her grandchildren, but she found herself in a situation where she's still alone at Christmas and doesn't have any family there. So she has these neighbors who have a 4-year-old daughter named Fiona, and I love them. I want to say they're from Ireland, I'm pretty sure, but forgive me if I'm wrong on that. But the family is the Albrights, and Vera's husband has passed away, so she's just all alone. Her children moved away from her, and Fiona's big heart makes all the difference for Vera this Christmas season, and it was beautiful. Vera ends up meeting Fiona through this emergency with her mother next door. She like knocked on Vera's door, and because her mother was having these stomach pains and needed to go to the hospital. Well, she was in the hospital for a while with her husband. The kids couldn't be there. They didn't have anybody to watch the kids, so Vera helps. Fiona ends up seeing that Vera quilts, and she says, let's make a beautiful Christmas quilt for my mother. And I loved it. I loved it. So that's the main storyline. You know, Vera's an expert in making quilts, and like they end up recruiting 3 women to try to make this quilt in such a short time. And there's Tasha, Eleanor, and Beverly. And there is a little bit of romance and stuff in this. And some of the 3 women that they bring in, I can't remember exactly. Was it Eleanor? One of them like had some baggage, okay? It was like kind of like a grumpy woman. And so they were trying to figure out what's going on with her. Well, what I remember I loved, I read it over a year ago. And it just has a lot of good friendship, faith, and family that I liked, more so than the romance. Like, I could care less about the romance. I was here for Vera and Fiona. I was here for them. They were just so precious. So, yeah, I really like this one. It's definitely a favorite of all time on my Christmas list. And the next one is going to be Christmas in Winter Hill. And this one has a romance, but it also has kind of like a side story that's different than like a typical romantic story from Melody Carlson. Because this one had Krista Galloway and her 8-year-old daughter Emily, and they moved to Winter Hill, Washington for Krista's new job. She is the Winter Hills city manager, and she is recently divorced. She grew up in a foster home. She was always having a disappointing Christmas every year, and this year was, you know, they were hoping it would be a little bit different and in this new city. And so there's some combating back and forth about her being the new manager from this man and all this stuff, but there's like a competition, I want to say. Town is basically famous for its Christmasville celebration, and I want to say I remember the manager, like, I didn't write it in my review much about this in my review, but I remember she was wanting to make some changes, and he was like trying to cut the budget, and there was some suspicious stuff going on. It's a guy that just makes everything the best for them. This one definitely has the makings of a good Hallmark Christmas movie. I feel like this one had more depth than some of her others. I think I read A Christmas by the Sea, and I gave it 3 stars, and I've read, there's another one. I can't remember the other one I read. It's like a Christmas in the Alps. I gave 3 stars. So those were okay, but like this one and the other one, they just have more depth in like what's going on in the story outside of a romance. So yeah. All right, we're getting down to the last 2, okay? We've got One Christmas in Winter. Belle Renshaw. I'm losing my voice. I've done a lot of filming today. So this is set in a fictional town called Winter, Montana, and it's just a cute little short novella. You know, I think her real name's Emily Haney, but I've never really read anything by her before, and I'm really glad I read this. This was really adorable. It's about Reba, who's like a director of this Christmas winter movie, and the leading actor has like an accident, and so they're temporarily out of commission, and luckily she runs into this guy, Hoyt Bradley, what a name, and he's a previous actor, but now he's now the owner of this diner. He agrees to fill in to be the actor in the meantime. So the rest kind of goes on from here, and they start to get to know each other, and it's just cute. Sparks fly, all that stuff. So yeah, some parts are cheese, cliche, but again, it's a Christmas read, so what you expect. I still really enjoyed it. I think anybody would be in the mood for this in Christmas season. I gave it 4 stars. And my last recommendation is one I kind of mentioned recently in a tag, but didn't go into too much depth, and that is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. She's another Christmas read that had a green cover. I can't remember the thing. It was like, I think it was set in Nashville. I didn't want to read that. I tried it. It was not for me. But this one is definitely clean. It's a hidden gem. It's cute. It has two sisters who swap lives and their romances. I give it 4.5 stars. You know, some of it's like predictable and cheesy, but I still really liked it. It's definitely like a Hallmark movie. This is secular, not a Christian read, but it's clean. And so, yeah, it's just, let me kind of open up here and I kind of give you some of the names because my mind can't remember names. But this says Chef Charlie Goodwin gets hit on the head on the LA set of her reality baking show. That's right. She gets hit on the head. She can't remember some things. And so she loses her critical ability to taste and smell. That's right. So her identical twin Cass is frantically trying to hold her own life together back in their quaint mountain hometown while running the family's bakery and dealing with the breakup that just won't end. So, yeah, that's right. I remember all that now. But with only days until Christmas, a desperate Charlie and Cass do something they haven't done since they were kids: switch places. Rugged firefighter Jake Greenman and gorgeous physician's assistant Miguel Rodriguez are thrown into the mix. Will their identity swap be a recipe for disaster or for getting their lives back on track? So I really had a good time with this. I mean, this is one I would reread. Honestly, if you love baking, it's for you. There's like a family bakery, and then she's on her baking TV show. They swap lives. There's all this stuff. It is a good time. I loved it. All right, y'all, that is it for my Christmas book recommendations. Let's chat below, as always. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, y'all.